Hi guys, I'm going to continue with Shephard's lemma and talk about the Slutsky equation. All right, so it's another way of decomposing the income and the substitution effects. All right, so here is the Shephard's lemma. Well, first off, let's remember the expenditure minimization problem, right? The problem was, I'm assuming for simplicity, two good K's. Minimize xpx plus ypy, right? So xpx plus ypy, which is the expenditure, subject to the utility of xy is equal to some fixed level u bar. So if you remember the Lagrangian, which was written for y and lambda, these are the choice variable, was equal to the objective function, which is xpx plus ypy, minus lambda times the constraint u of xy minus u bar. Right? So the first order conditions, this is just a review, kind of. The first order conditions, solving the first order conditions, implies the optimal x, optimal y, and optimal lambda. I'm going to call them xc, yc, lambda c, because, we just learned that those optimal xy's are actually called compensated or the Hicksian demands. And the lambda, well, I'll just, putting c there as well. So when I calculate my Lagrangian under, these Hicksian demands and this optimal lambda, what I will get is actually the expenditure function, right? The expenditure function at price px, py, and the utility bar u, right? This has to be the case. Why is that? Well, because the constraint is going to be satisfied with equality under this lambda c, so therefore this is going to be 0, and so the expenditure is basically plugging those Hicksian demands into my expenditure function. That's it. So what does that mean? Well, that means when I take the partial derivative of my expenditure function with respect to the price of good x, what I'm going to get, well, what this equals to, the partial derivative of the Lagrangian function calculated x at those optimal points with respect to price of good x, which is when you take the partial derivative of this guy and evaluate it at xc, yc, lambda c with respect to px, well, this term has nothing to do with price of x. Here, it has nothing to do with px. So the px only appears here, and its derivative with respect to px is just x. But remember, I am evaluating this derivative at the point xc. So what does that mean? That means if you want to calculate the compensated demand from the expenditure function, all you have to do, if you know the expenditure function, obviously, you have to take the partial derivative of the expenditure function with respect to the price of good x. And so, voila, you're going to get the compensated demand for good x. Well, same is true for y, obviously. If you want to find the compensated demand for good y, all you have to do is just take the derivative of the expenditure function with respect to the price of good y. So, this is what we call Shephard's lemma. Okay? So that's what Shephard's lemma is. There's just single P, I am sorry, Shephard's lemma. All right, so now let's talk about Slutsky equation. The Slutsky equation starts with, so I'm going to clean this part because I don't need these arguments, but I will use the Shephard's lemma. All right, so let's leave this here, and I know that the Shephard's lemma basically means the compensated demand is equal to the partial derivative of the expenditure function with respect to the price of this good. If there are n goods, well then again, the ith goods compensated demand is equal to the partial derivative of the expenditure function with respect to the ith goods price. That's it. So the Slutsky equation well, it starts with the following observation. If you remember, the compensated demand curve calculated at Px, Py, again, for simplicity, I'm assuming there are two goods, Px, Py, and the utility level U bar is equal to the Marshallian demand calculated at Px, Py income whenever the U bar is in fact the maximum utility you get when you under this Px, Py, and income, and the income is in fact the expenditure at price Px, Py, and the utility level U. All right, so we talked about this in previous lectures. So what can I do? Well, remember, I want to know how the demand will behave with respect to the changes its own price. So I'm going to take the partial derivative of both sides. But here, because of this equality, I am going to write this income instead E of Px, Py, U bar. Okay? So therefore, when I take the partial derivative of both sides with respect to Px, what I'm going to get is the following. The partial derivative of the compensated demand curve with respect to the price of good X has to be equal to, well, the X depends on Px and implicitly depends on Px once again by sort of indirectly depending on expenditure. All right, so thanks to the implicit function derivation rule, what I can do is like, well, first the Marshallian demands derivative with respect to Px plus the Marshallian demands derivative with respect to the expenditure, and then the expenditure's partial derivative with respect to Px. All right. So basically, this is what. So this comes from this equality. Well, I want to leave this guy alone because I want to know what happens to the Marshallian demand of a good X if its price changes. So I send this guy to the other side. So that means it's equal to this minus del X del E times del E del Px. All right? Okay, so I am going to play with this a little bit more. How so? Well, first of all, remember we said, the expenditure is nothing but the income. So therefore, I can just put this, oh, by the way, this is the substitution effect, and this is the income effect. The minus part is the income effect. So instead of this, I can write del X del I, okay? Because the expenditure is equal to income when this equality holds. What else? Well, del E del Px, remember, thanks to Shephard's lemma, is nothing but the compensated demand curve. Okay? But I also know that my compensated demand is exactly equal to the Marshallian demand, all right? At the point where U bar is equal to V and I is equal to E. So this holds. So therefore, instead of writing the compensated demand, I just can write the Marshallian demand. Okay? Again, all these are coming from thanks to the arguments that the compensated and the Marshallian demands are equal to each other whenever U bar is the maximum utility achieved when you consume the Marshallian demands, and the income is actually achieved is the minimum expenditure that you need to achieve this utility level. All right? So that means I can rewrite this guy as del X del Px equals del Xc del Px minus X times del X over del I. All right? Well, why we do this? Well, I mean, because when you take the derivative with respect to income, you know, it sounds like this is the, you know, the income effect, and this is the substitution effect. All right. So del xc del px is basically the substitution effect, and del x del x minus x del x del I is the income effect. All right, so yeah, basically that's it. So therefore, if you want to calculate the total net effect, you have to calculate the substitution effect, all right, by taking the partial derivative with respect to the price of good X, partial derivative of the Hicksian demand curve, and then if you want to, so then add the income effect, and the income effect is going to be, well, my Marshallian demand and times the Marshallian demand's derivative with respect to income. So remember, if the good is a normal good, this is positive. If good is an inferior good, this is negative, right? So, okay, very good. Yeah. Anything else? Let's see. Well, we are not going to make too much argument, but, oh, by the way, let me just say one thing. Remember, for superior goods, we said the demand and the price should have negative impact, negative relationship. But that basically comes from you know, the substitution effect plus the income effect. And so the income effect for normal goods is going to be always negative, and the substitution effect is going to be relatively smaller than the income effect. So the total effect is going to be negative. However, if the good is extremely inferior, meaning this guy is negative, but well, sort of the size of it is very big. So this is a negative times a negative number. So this is positive. All right. So this is positive. This is positive. I'm sorry. This is potentially negative, and this is positive. And so if this is big enough, well, this positive sign is going to overweight this sign. And so the effect is going to be positive, all right? So although the price increases, the demand will also increase. So therefore, in case of extreme inferiority, the del x del px may have a positive sign, in which case we call the good the Giffen good, all right? So the Giffen goods are extreme inferiority case. Otherwise, if the good is a normal good, that guy is going to be positive. So x is always positive, right? It's a demand. You can't demand something negative. So this term is negative. Well, this term is always negative, okay? Therefore, this term is going to be negative for sure. All right? Okay. So, one last thing before closing is the elasticity. I just want to, you know, define them. That's it. So two elasticities is, well, the third one is cross price elasticity, but you know, own price elasticity, it's basically proportionate change in quantity demanded in response to a proportionate change in price. It's in own price of the good. All right. So we denote it by epsilon. So good X, Px, and it's delta X divided by X, so the proportionate change in demand, quantity demand, divided by proportionate change in price of good X. But for a continuous demand curve, if the Marshallian demand, this is for Marshallian demand, if it's a continuous function, so it's differentiable, we basically define it as follows. del x del px times px divided by x. Okay? And the income elasticity, proportionate change in quantity demanded in response to a proportionate change in income. So elasticity of good x, the income elasticity of good x is basically a proportionate change in demand, quantity demand, divided by proportionate change in income. So if the Marshallian demand curve is continuous, we can just write del x del I times I divided by x. And finally, cross price elasticity. And the idea is proportionate change in quantity demand in good x in response to a proportionate change in price of good y. So I denote it as E epsilon x py. Py is the good price of the other good. So it's proportionate change in the quantity demand divided by proportionate change in the price of the other good. So basically it's del x del py times py divided by x. All right. So this is what we formally mean elasticity. And you know that elasticity is not the slope of the demand curve, but it's related, right? Because this is the slope of the demand curve, but it's not just that. Elasticity also depends on sort of your initial point, x and px. So we can define price elasticity, income elasticity, cross-price elasticity for Marshallian demand. We can also define them for the Hicksian demand, but we are going to usually go with the Marshallian demands. As I earlier mentioned, in real with real data, we can estimate Marshallian demand curves, but it's not possible to estimate the Hicksian demand curve because we don't know the utility level of the consumers. So for that reason, we are going to go with the Marshallian demand curves. So this is it for this episode. The next one, I'm going to finish this chapter with consumer surplus. All right, see you then. Bye-bye.